Yep.
So I've got a half a dozen stems to replenish in my flower arrangement for the spring. So I'm going to pick some fresher flowers. This one hasn't started to open yet, so it's a good candidate. The rest of these have been open several days, so I'm not going to pick them. Same here. These are all open for several days, and I'm not seeing any that look like they just opened this morning. So I think these daffodils are about done. And let's go over and look at those daffodils over there. So these daffodils are also about bloomed out. If I'd come out earlier in the morning, in the day, I might have seen some that were just opening, but I don't see any here that are just opened. So I don't want them to last less than a day, so I'm not going to pick any of them. I'll go for some more of these quince, I think. So at this point, I want to trim my quince plant. I want to go ahead and pull stems from it that should be trimmed anyway. Now this one is real long and leggy, and it has some nice flowers on it and a bud that hasn't opened yet. So I think that'll last at least another day. I'm going ahead and picking it down pretty low. I can always trim some of that off, and it'll make the arrangement look higher. It'll look taller and more in proportion. That's a big vase that we have it in, so that'll be good for it. And I've got, let's see, here's a really nice stem that's going to be shaded very soon when these other bushes leaf out, and it has some buds on it that have yet to open. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it and trim it down and make it beautiful too. But I'm only going to trim it down to here because I think that'll bush out nicely from down there. That'll be a good way to trim that stem and get a really nice flower. And I think that's all the quince I'm going to pull right now because most of them are already bloomed out. There aren't very many buds. Let's see how many buds are left here. Now there are a couple of buds, but they're down so low, I just don't know if I want to pull that. Now here are some buds. Look, here's a lot of them. That's a great stem. Let's pull that one. Look how many unopened buds there are on it. That'll last a lot of days. And this looks very healthy, so I can trim it pretty low, right above where there are a couple of leaves starting out, and that'll branch out nicely for next season. I think that's all we can pull from the backyard right now. There are other things that are going to bloom later, but they haven't started yet. Then other things are just too far past peak. Oh, we need to put them water. I've got the water right here. They need water.
Okay.
I love my neighbor's magnolia tree. I see it outside my kitchen window, and she's given me permission to trim from it. And I'm just looking at things that might be in the lawn mowing man's way, and this one might be, it's right here at eye level. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that. And it needs to be trimmed pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it almost all the way back. And then I don't need a lot of this. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these off because that's not going to enhance my flower arrangement. So here we go. And let me see if I can find one more magnolia stem here that's about to bloom. that will stand upright. That's the trick with the magnolias, is to get them to to do upright. So let's see, this one looks good. I'm going to trim it back here and take a pause to go get my cat. Okay, so these are almost gone, but I saw one bloom this morning and I think I can pick him out. He still hasn't opened all of his petals yet. So I think this one is probably one of the last daffodils I can pick. And there's one too. This one, that just started opening, so I think that'll last 2 or 3 days. And let's see if there's any more. That looks like a good one. Let's do this one, because I've got about 5 or 6 stems that I lost, that had dried up. So I'm trying to get, maybe a half a dozen. All those look like they bloomed pretty much. Let's see. That one, nope, it's older than it looks. Yeah, these are pretty much all spent, but I did notice one opening this morning, and I think this was the one. Yes, this is how you can tell. So inside this little cup, those stamen and pistils are barely separated. And on the older ones, let's see, that one has two. Oh my, let's see. Okay, those have separated, that's older. It's hard to see. Anyway, to the trained eye, you can tell what just started blooming and what still has only a couple of hours left on it. And I think that's all we're going to pick today. The rest of the flowers you see blooming in the yard have 2 smallest stems on them. These creeping phlox are wonderful, but those have very short stems. And these flowering almonds on the other side of the driveway that have just started to bloom are wonderful, but they drop petals as soon as you bring them in the house and they're messy. So that's why I'm not picking those.